Hey everybody, what is up and welcome back to my channel. As you guys can tell from the title of today's video, I wanted to sit down and actually do my July wrap up. I cannot believe it's already August. Today, as I'm filming, it's August 1st, I believe, 1st or 2nd. But I am so excited to talk to you guys about the books that I read. I've been reading a bunch of different stuff. Now, I didn't read a whole lot and quite a few of them were comics, but I just genuinely enjoyed my reading month. I don't think any of them really stood out as spectacular reads, but I think a lot of them were quite enjoyable. A few of them were hit or misses, but I think we all kind of experience that. I don't know anyone who has like a 100% perfect, super enjoyable reading month. If you are one of those people, please leave down below and let me know, because I need to know your secrets. I need to know what you're reading and pick them up and just 100% enjoy my reading month. But either way, I'm gonna go ahead and get started and keep this intro short and sweet. So the first book that I read, I actually don't have with me, but that would be The Sculptor. This was a graphic novel. It is a huge graphic novel. I actually read this for Tome Topalathon. I genuinely enjoyed this. This was something that I wasn't expecting to love as much as I did. It follows our main character and he kind of makes a deal with the devil where he can make anything that he wants, like craft anything he wants out of any material, because obviously he is a sculptor. And he tries to figure out what's missing from his life, and he does end up falling in love, and death comes for him and is like, you can't undo what you've done. And it's just about love and loss and finding your place in the world and what's important to us as people. This comic definitely touched me in ways that I didn't think it was going to, and I would highly recommend it if you're looking for a more deep comic, I guess. I feel like a lot of comics are more surface level, but recently I've been reading some really, really good ones that I think have a lot of great messages, and I definitely think The Sculptor is one of them. Obviously, I believe I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. Now, the next book that I have here is a book that was actually our quarterly book club pick, and I think I'm in the minority here, but it was Godblind by Anna Stevens. I really loved this. I wasn't expecting to. I think the first 50 pages were super, super confusing. This book follows our main character, Rillarin, and she is part of the Mirces, M-I-R-C-E-S is how it's spelled, and she is a slave essentially in their community, and the king of this community actually tries to rape her, and she kills him and runs away. And there are these people called the Wolves who are essentially on the opposite warring side, and the main character, Dom, another main character in this series, that is where she is introduced to him. He actually does save her. I really liked this series because it was, or this book, because it wasn't what I was expecting it to be. A lot of people in the group did have a lot of trouble enjoying this, and we had a lot of trouble getting into it, and I would definitely say the first 50 pages are very, very confusing, but I do like the kind of political aspect of this book. I do like the gore and the blood, and it is very, very hard to read at times, but I really liked it. I like that our other main character, Dom, is able to kind of see the future, and that is what he sees in Rillarin, and they kind of like develop a relationship. It was just such an unexpected read for me, and I don't know if I love this book so much because I was kind of coming out of a reading slump, but definitely took my breath away. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. The only thing that I didn't really like about it is the chapters were really short, so right when you started kind of getting into the chapter, it sort of ended, and I was kind of speaking about that with a friend recently. It was still really, really good though. I just wish that maybe the chapters were longer, maybe there's a little bit more information. I just didn't like that it changed perspectives so often, and there were quite a few perspectives in this book. The next book I read, if you guys follow me on Instagram, you will have seen my Instagram live for this or my Instagram story for this, but it is Beneath a Scarlet Sky. I really liked this book. I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. It wasn't a 5-star read for me like I thought it was going to be. This is incredibly highly rated on Amazon, but it does follow our main character, Pino. He does live in Italy during World War II, and it follows his journey with adapting to the Nazis being there. He is at one point in time decides to join the Nazi party to prevent himself from being conscripted into the Italian army, which at that point was kind of cannon fodder for World War II because Italy at the time was Nazi occupied. I really liked this book. It was just a little bit lacking in kind of the writing style. I feel like the writing style was very, very plain, but I feel like the story overall was really heartbreaking and really hard to read. And as somebody who does genuinely like World War II, it was really nice to get the Italian perspective on that. My family are from Germany and Italy, and while I do know our German heritage during World War II, I'm not familiar with the Italy side. So it does kind of inspire me to want to sit down and talk to my Nona and ask her kind of what happened for her. I don't think that she was actually alive during World War II, but it'd be nice to know kind of like our family's history during World War II. This was still a really good book, but definitely lacking a little bit in dialogue. There was a lot of repetitive verbiage in this as well, a lot of run-on sentences, things like that. I just feel like it maybe could have gone through editing a couple more times, but other than that, I still did really, really enjoy it. Now, the next book I have here is actually Lifelike by Jay Kristoff. I really like this book. This book follows Eve, our main character, and she is injured during a robot fight, and she actually starts to remember the life that she may have lived previously and starts to realize that everything that she knows in her life is actually a lie. I really liked this book because it wasn't what I was expecting it to be. It did lull in the middle of it. I didn't really love it as much as I thought I was going to for that reason. I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It would have been a firm 5-star read if I feel like Jay would have taken just a little bit more time, did a little bit more, I don't know, explaining of things. It just felt kind of blah in the middle of it. I didn't like the love interest in this either, and I think that's part of the reason why I also gave it 4 stars. If the love interest isn't really strong in the story, with the love interest isn't really great, it tends to bring the rating down for me. I didn't kind of understand why they were in this together, but I still really liked it. I do like the AI aspect of it. I like the kind of sentient AI aspect of that. And if you guys don't know at all, I hate those kinds of stories. That's like my worst fear, is AI becoming sentient. But I still really did enjoy this. It's definitely not my favorite of Jay's books, but it's definitely really enjoyable. There will be a full review of this coming. It might be out before this video. If it is, I will link it in the cards up above. But if it is not, you'll see it later on in the week. So the next book I have here, I actually buddy read with Rhiannon from Crescent Moon Reads, and that would be Our Dark Duet. This is a continuation. This is the second novel that follows this Savage Song. This is the final novel in the series. I actually read somewhere that there was going to be a third one, and obviously there isn't going to be one. I don't know where I heard that rumor from, but I really liked this book. I'm not going to go too in depth because obviously this is the second one in the series, but I will say it does pick up pretty flawlessly from where this Savage Song left off. Of the two, I would say this is it comes second. I think this Savage Song I enjoyed just a slight bit more, but I still really liked this. I liked all of the character development. I liked the introduction of the new characters, and I really liked the ending, as heartbreaking as it was. I feel like V. Schwab does a really good job just making you love and care for the characters in her books. I know there's been some debate on whether or not this is as great a novel as people say it is, but I really liked it, so I'm going to go ahead and say that it's definitely a book and a series that I feel like people should read. Now, the next book I have here was actually sent to me by Orbit, and that would be Annex by Rich Larson. This actually follows a bunch of different characters. Our main characters, however, are Violet and Beau. Violet is a transgender character. Beau is from Niger, I believe, which is funny because so is the author. I think that was kind of cool that he was able to put that in there. But the reason I really like this book is it actually follows a bunch of underage kids. I think the oldest one is 17, and these aliens actually land on Earth and do something called clamping the rest of the population, all of the adults essentially, and that makes them kind of zombies. They're not necessarily like out for blood or anything like that, but they just kind of go about their daily lives, but they're not actually even there. They're a little bit brain dead. And the reason I really like this is because, one, I thought the trans rep in this was very, very good. I think that if anybody's looking for more trans rep in just like everyday writing, like this is a post-apocalyptic kind of like sci-fi novel, and I think that the trans rep is still done very, very well in this. I found Violet's character incredibly enjoyable and definitely like one of my top favorite female characters from a book ever. The only thing that I don't really like about this book, however, is I feel like the middle of it sort of lacked. It kind of lagged a lot for me, and I ended up giving it 3 stars for that. I wanted just a little bit more information in the middle of the book. It seemed like they were doing things over and over again, and it kind of annoyed me. But the beginning of this book is incredibly strong, and the ending of it is incredibly strong. I am still going to be picking up the second one, but I did end up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. All right, now I'm going to get into some of the graphic novels that I actually read this month. The first one that I read was Space Boy. I loved this. This is actually part of the Panels book club, which is done by Natalie here, Pages and Panels on YouTube. If you guys are interested, I will leave the video down below if you'd like to join the group. I am super excited to be a part of this group. I'm actually loving finding new comics, and I think that Natalie is definitely my go-to for that. So if you like comics, I would definitely check out her channel. But this actually follows our main character, and she is able to see and sense like tastes from the characters from the other people in the book. I think that's really cool, but the main story actually follows her and her family live 30 years in the future, essentially in deep space, and something happens and her dad, they're actually sent back to Earth. Something happens with her father, and he kind of gets fired, and they're sent back to Earth, and they have to figure out how to adjust. And the reason why it's so hard for her to adjust is because they are in deep space. When she travels back, it takes 30 years, so 30 years has passed, but she hasn't aged at all. So all of her friends that she left behind, everything that she knew, like how life was, is all just kind of changed. This comic was a lot more relatable than I thought it was going to be. I just really, really loved it. If you guys want to see like my full review on this, kind of what I thought of it, I will link up here in the cards. I did a video. There are video prompts for each comic done in the Panels book club, but I genuinely enjoyed this. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and I already have the second and the third one pre-ordered. Now, the next comic I read this month, I actually read this for the Booktubeathon, and it would be Snot Girl Volume 1. I really liked this comic. I didn't know what to expect. I just know a lot of people genuinely love it. But this follows our main character, Lottie, and she is a blogger, like she does like fashion and lifestyle kind of blogging, and so do her little group of friends. But the thing about her that's really funny is all of her friends are kind of assholes. Her boyfriend breaks up with her, and she has a constant sinus infection and allergies, so her nose is constantly running while trying to maintain this perfect, you know, on paper lifestyle that she has. And I really like this because there was a very dramatic turn in the middle of the book where she actually meets another blogger, and then that blogger dies, and Lottie starts to worry that maybe she's killed her, and then the blogger comes back. So this is not at all what I was expecting. It took a very, very dark turn, and for that I really, really love it. It's definitely very colorful and bright, but it definitely has more of a dark undertone to it. So if you're looking for something like that, I think you would absolutely love this. All right, now I'm gonna get into the most disappointing read that I've had this month. I have mixed feelings on this, and I'll kind of go over why, but it would be Paper Girls. I've heard mixed reviews on this. I ended up giving this 3 stars, but I could probably give it about 2. I like the art style. I like the storyline. I think it's really cool. It's about these girls. They're very young. They're under 12 years old, I believe, and they are paper girls. While these people come to kind of invade Earth, but they are essentially from the future. There are 2 warring sides, and the girls kind of get caught up in that. The issue that I'm having with this is I feel like this comic has a lot of shock value, and that's not to say that that's necessarily negative. That's not to say that there isn't a place for that. You know, I don't want to police literature in that way, but for me, it was kind of hard to stomach. There are times when one of the girls actually uses the F word, the gay derogatory term used for male men traditionally in the gay community, and I did not like that. There's one point in time when one of the boys that they meet at the first of the book says, you know, something about one of them being hot, and his friend points out that she's quite young, and he goes, well, grass on the field, which if you don't know what that is, it's a joke that people like to make about saying if a girl has body hair, she's old enough to have sex with. And I just found that really, really repulsive. So for me, it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. Now, I'm willing to try to continue with the series because I understand those kind of things existing in literature. And like I said, I'm not somebody to police it, but you kind of have to pick and choose what you're comfortable with reading, which is why I feel like this series is so hit or miss for people, because I feel like a lot of people either accept that that's kind of what it is and don't necessarily have a predisposition for finding that, you know, awful, or they don't. So I'm kind of mixed about this, but I do have the rest of the series. I think, well, not the rest, I think I have the first like 9 volumes. So I'm going to try to continue to read it, although I have heard that the rest of it gets kind of convoluted. And while I do like the storyline, if it's not a strong storyline, I'm not going to continue reading it. But I will keep you guys updated probably in August's wrap up. Alright guys, so that is it for all the books that I read in July. Not necessarily my best wrap up, but not my worst by any means. I think according to my reading goal, I'm like 19 books behind right now, which I'm totally fine with. I know at some point I will catch up. I'm just really taking my time reading. I've been having some medical issues recently. I've been, you know, just not feeling the best. So I haven't really been wanting to read, but I hope you guys had an excellent reading month. Let me know down below your favorite book from the month of July, and I will see you guys in my next video.